So the doubt that I was experiencing that says, you don't know how to do this, Erin. How are you going to do this if you don't know how to do it? All of a sudden turns into, I will figure it out. If she's done it, I can do it. If it happened for her, it can happen for me. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video, as you can see by the title, is going to be all about how I stopped doubting myself. I don't know if you know this or if you've heard my story, but when I very first started my first business, I was riddled with imposter syndrome. I didn't feel good enough to get new clients, to market myself, or to put myself out there in a real way online. I had to do a lot of work in this area to get to the point where I am today, where I can launch and sell and build my business confidently without doubting myself. However, what I do want to say is, specifically with this type of video that I know a lot of creators make on YouTube and with podcasts, and a lot of people talk about confidence and self-doubt and routines and rituals and all of this personal development stuff. I don't want you to think that the people making this kind of content never waver from their own advice. I actually, right now in this moment of recording this video, am going through a period of doubt in another area of my life. And so while I still want to be totally open and honest and share with you that I don't always feel the exact way that I'm going to share with you in this video today, I still want to show up and create this video because in areas like business, I have been able to achieve a certain level of confidence and resilience and ability to show up. But the transparency comes from, I don't want people to think that every influencer has their life together. If I see someone doing a 5 a.m. morning routine, they must never sleep in. If I see someone having a perfectly healthy meal, they must never cheat on that diet. Everyone goes through periods where they're not the best versions of themselves. And so if that does happen to you in your pursuit of overcoming self-doubt and becoming successful, please just know that despite what social media makes it look like, it is totally normal. So yes, right now in an area of my life, I am feeling a little bit of self-doubt, and I'm going to take my own advice in this video and apply what I've learned in business to this other area, because life is all about growth. But in saying all of that, I've mentioned a few times, I have been able to go through a journey of growth within my business and within many areas of my life where I don't doubt myself very regularly, where I'm able to show up with a tenacity and confidence and go after the things that I want. And that's what I wanted to talk to you today about. I wanted to share with you all the different things that I have personally done to stop doubting myself in business, so that whatever area of life, whether it be business, relationships, health, or any other area that you are currently doubting yourself, thinking, I'm not good enough for this thing, I don't know how to achieve this thing, or what if it fails, all the things that come with when we doubt ourselves, you can hopefully apply these tips to start moving forward and taking action. Because at the end of the day, the reality is that doubt doesn't actually go away until you prove to yourself that you can do the thing, that you can have the thing. So these are just going to be some tips to get you started, to build momentum, but ultimately what is truly going to get you there is just to take action. Alright, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please do give it a thumbs up, and of course, if you are new around here, why not consider subscribing? I make videos all about confidence, mindset, and helping you to use that to grow a successful online business. So my first tip for overcoming self-doubt is that I always imagine the worst case scenario. So if there's anything that I want to go after, let's say I wanted to do a particular launch in my business, I wanted to sell a particular type of product, and my doubt started to creep in telling me, no one's going to buy this, no one's going to sign up, you might as well not even launch it. What I say to myself is, what is the absolute worst case scenario? Now, I know a lot of people will tell you, don't think of the worst case scenario, think of the best case scenario. And whilst I do agree that that is great advice, and I do that as well, I always think about what is the opportunity versus what is the cost. I always like to look at the worst case scenario and ask myself a simple question. Am I strong enough to handle this? I think sometimes that we catastrophize what the actual realistic worst case scenario is if we don't talk through it with ourselves. Sometimes your mind might spin out, you might think, oh, I'm going to launch this thing and no one's going to buy, and then all my family are going to reject me, and then I'm going to have to move out of my house, and then no one's ever going to talk to me, and then all of a sudden I'm going to stand in a puddle and I'm going to get water all over myself and the world will ostracize me. And it's like, we can go so far down this spiral of what's possible when generally it's nowhere near as bad as we think it's going to be, or we're much stronger than we're giving ourselves credit for. I saw this really funny reel the other day of someone saying like, I've been broke before, I didn't die. I'm gonna leave it in the description below. She's the funniest person on Instagram. But it's so true. Like, okay, even if the worst case scenario was that you tried stuff in business and it just didn't work, ultimately where you're going to be is exactly where you started, but at least you will have learned some lessons on the way. And yes, it may be embarrassing, it may be soul crushing, it might be really hurtful to be rejected or to not have people sign up for a program, but you are so much stronger than you're giving yourself credit for. And if any of these scenarios play out, the reality is that it is going to be a blip on the radar of your life, and that if you keep showing up and if you keep moving forward, this failure or this mishap is going to just be an excellent lesson. So the worst case scenario is generally never as bad, and even if it is as bad as you're imagining it to be, know that you are so much stronger. Of course, what's on the other side of that is the opportunity of it all. So if you think of what the worst case scenario is, yes, reflect also on what the best case scenario is. There's two options here. You either stay where you are because you were too afraid to try, or you go for the thing that you want and you could end up with everything you've ever desired. So go through and actually dissect that worst case scenario, because I promise you it will help to ease some of the doubt that is creeping in when you need to take action. The next thing that I really did to help me to overcome generalized self-doubt, that voice in my head that consistently told me that I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not whatever enough. We all have that voice inside our head that just basically tells us we suck. And what I did to really start to dilute that voice a little bit was that I tried to challenge myself as often as I possibly could to do hard things. Now, I don't know where I learned this, but it's definitely something that I've learned online. Like, I heard a quote one day, like, you can do hard things. I'm gonna try find where that came from because it's like a really inspiring speech. But the reality is, like, I often, like every single day, if I'm feeling a moment of self-doubt, then what I try to prove to myself is that I can do hard things, because even if right now it's painful and it's frustrating, I know that with a little bit of intention and love and taking responsibility, I can actually keep moving forward. For an example, even today, I was not feeling so great. And so I just said to myself, look, Erin, go run 5Ks on your treadmill. Prove to yourself that, yeah, it's going to be painful to run 5K, but at the end of that 5Ks, I'm going to know that whatever I'm feeling right now is temporary, and that I actually have the capacity to do hard things. But additionally to that, I'm always challenging myself, whether that be with like motocross or Muay Thai or things that I do in business. The more that I prove to myself that the things that I thought I once couldn't do, I actually can, the more that I start to dissolve that overall self-doubt that I have about myself and my capabilities. Honestly, ask me a few years ago, I was totally a different person. But each and every single day as I get a little older and challenge myself more, the more I really start to believe in myself, coupled with starting to love myself, which could be another video in and of itself. If you want a video on self-love, definitely let me know. I can make that, because that's been a huge part of this whole process. But proving to myself that I am strong, proving to myself that I can do things I once thought I couldn't do, has been the biggest game changer in my own self-doubt journey. Speaking of self-love, another thing that I really did was I learned to love myself no matter what. I'm happy to make a whole entire video on all the self-love things that I have done, but this one is really crucial to self-doubt. I think at the end of the day, one of the biggest primitive fears that we all have around taking action is rejection, ostracization. We think that if I launch something online and nobody buys, or if I launch a podcast or a YouTube channel and nobody signs up or nobody consumes my content, like I'm gonna feel rejected, I'm gonna feel ostracized. And something that I did to omit this feeling was that I learned to have my own back no matter what. I learned to be my own best friend. And whilst I still think that we as humans are social creatures and we definitely need one another, getting to the point where I was my own best friend and that I had my own back, I always knew that no matter what happened, no matter if I was rejected, no matter if I was embarrassed, no matter if I felt like that feeling of ostracization, I was always there for myself. I can't leave myself. I am always by my own side. And so learning to celebrate myself, enjoy my own company, learning to be able to look at myself in the mirror, deep into my own eyes, and say that I love you and care for you and that you are enough, has been huge Because like I said, no matter what happens, no matter how much I feel like rejected or alone or whatever, when I'm in the pursuit of things that I want in life, I know that I always have someone, and that someone is me. So learning to get to know yourself, learning to love yourself, no matter what happens, will help you to overcome that overall feeling of self-doubt. Another more practical thing that you can do for self-doubt is just practice in private. And what I mean by this is, I think we've had a bit of a conversation about some of the really mindset shifts that you need to make to start believing in yourself more. But when it comes to actual things like starting a YouTube channel and filming videos, or public speaking, or selling, or anything that you want to pursue in life really that involves some kind of work, one of the biggest things that you can do to build up self-confidence is realize that you don't have to go public so quick. You know, as much as I'm here and I always talk about like, just get out there and take action and build your audience and, you know, the confidence comes with doing the thing. You know, sometimes as you improve your own skills, that will naturally start to mitigate those feelings of self-doubt. The first time I ever did a public talk to 100 people, I did my slides, I did everything, and I felt really confident walking on that stage, even though I was hungover. But I felt really confident walking onto that stage because I was so prepared, because I practiced over and over and over again in private. I know a lot of people have reservations about starting a YouTube channel. Just film a bunch of videos, film 100 videos if you have to, until you actually start building up some confidence. Now, granted, this doesn't work for every single area of life. Some areas of life you just have to go for it and see what happens. But with anything that involves this kind of work, building up your practice in private is something that will really help you to stop doubting yourself so much. Because sometimes we just don't go for things because we think we can't. Show yourself that you can. It really can be as simple as that. And then another tip that I have, and this is a bit of a weird one, but honestly, this has been a game changer for me, is that in my life, I substituted naysayers for expanders. And what I mean by this is, you know, when you hear people talking about, that's impossible, that's unrealistic, you can't do that, that's not the way the world works. When you hear these sayings over and over and over again, it starts to really imprint itself on you. But when you have people in your life that are like, oh my God, that's amazing, that's an excellent goal, you could totally do that, you're gonna feel so much more possibility. And so I know it's difficult sometimes, especially when maybe it's like a family member or someone that you're really close to that is a naysayer. The more that you surround yourself with people who are either doing the thing that you want to do, have the thing that you want to have, or at least have the confidence that you're striving for, or even just people that are celebratory and excited for your success, the more that you actually make optimism your natural belief system. And so they do say, you know, you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. This is a quote I'm sure we've all heard, and I think it's really true. But even if you don't have people in your life that you are really, really close to, that are expanding you, that tell you you're amazing, as much as you possibly can, try to consume content like here on YouTube or on Instagram or with books or podcasts or whatever of people who've done the thing that you want to do. Like sometimes when I've had a lot of self-doubt, like one of my goals actually, you know, is to make $1 million in business within a 12-month frame. I've made $1 million since I started my business, but to me, I don't count that, right? I want to make $1 million in 12 months. That's just a goal that I have. And I still am in that phase of like, I have no idea how I would do that. But every time I listen to a podcast episode of someone who's made $1 million, or someone who went from making 500K to 1.5 million in the space of a year, like that to me makes me feel like it is totally possible. So the doubt that I was experiencing that says, you don't know how to do this, Erin. How are you going to do this if you don't know how to do it? All of a sudden turns into, I will figure it out. If she's done it, I can do it. If it happened for her, it can happen for me. And so I try to expand myself with these possibilities as much as possible so that my doubt doesn't have as much space to tell me that it's not as possible. And also those people in my life that say it's not possible, I try to shut off even hearing what they have to say as often as I possibly can. But if you can't shut that off, then try to override it with positive examples. Okay, so those are a few things. I mean, I honestly have so many more. Maybe I could make a part 2 if you enjoyed this video, but there's so many things that I have done to just show myself that I can do whatever it is that I want to do in life. But like I said in the beginning, the best way to prove to yourself that the doubt that you're experiencing was unnecessary in the first place is to just, as much as you possibly can, take a deep breath, pull up your socks, and just dive straight in. Just do the thing that you're telling yourself you can't do and prove to your brain over and over again that you are stronger and more capable, more resilient than you ever thought you were. All right, that's it for me. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you want a self-love video, please do let me know. I've been doing a lot of work around self-love over the past 12 or so months, and that's it. That's all I've got to say. Don't doubt yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but do the work, get to where you want to go. All right, that's it for me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.